We're just in San Diego, and we kind of just kicked this idea. We were like, man, if we could make a food truck in the South, that would just like crush, because they don't, like, our friends don't even know. Like, we actually ended up making these pretzels for our Southern friends, and they were like, oh my gosh. I'd be texting mom like, hey, can you send us? She'd be mailing, mixes down to us.
Surrounding everything is love. So we do everything for each other and with each other in love. You might not agree, but it's not anything, personal against anybody else. We really can work through things. So we're very grateful to have each other too.
Today's episode of the ProGuide is brought to you by Small Pond Productions, the producers of this podcast. If you're looking to boost your brand's voice with professional end-to-end podcast production, whether it's an interview show or telling stories with audio, we walk you through every step of the process to make you sound great. Head to our website and download the free Podcasting Made Simple guide. 8 critical things you need to know before launching your brand's podcast. It's all available at smallpond.productions. Well, welcome everybody to this episode of the ProGuide, where we interview thought leaders in business, technology, and creativity. Today we're hanging out in the business slice, and I am beyond excited to talk to the owners of a food establishment that is responsible for creating the best pretzel I have ever eaten. So glad and excited to meet and hang out with Emmitt and Wendy. And just so thankful and excited that you guys were willing to join me and talk a little bit about not only Pretzelvania, your establishment, but also just some of the origin story around that. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. We're grateful.
I would love it if we could just maybe hit the ground running here. Talk to me a little bit about who the both of you are and in relationship to each other, and then also some of the origin story around where did this idea for Pretzelvania come from for you?
Sure. Yeah. So I can kick it off. So my name's Emmitt Smith. Wendy is my mom. So myself, my mom, my dad, and my wife. So Gary Smith, Erica Smith, they're the other 2 owners of Pretzelvania. We're from Central Pennsylvania, near Hershey originally. So we grew up eating soft pretzels. It was always like my favorite snack as a kid. And, we would go to different farmers markets, and that always had the best soft pretzel. And so kind of to flash forward, well, I should probably start with, we used to make homemade soft pretzels all the time, and that was mom. So she would buy a soft pretzel mix from like an Amish store. And that was just became a pastime. When we'd have friends over, it was just kind of like an activity for us to do too. Like, hey, we're making pretzels tonight. Let's have people over, and we'd make some soft pretzels. So then flash forward, and Erica and I moved to Alabama. So after graduate school, I got a job offer at Auburn University. So we moved to Alabama. And while we were there, we just realized that there were no soft pretzels there. And, there were, I guess, but it was like, not the kind. Yeah. They were a refreshment stand kind of food, like the super pretzels you can buy in the store, and place in the mall was like a cookie place. They had some soft pretzels that were okay. And I don't really know that there's a bad soft pretzel, right? We love soft pretzels, but just not that we really knew. So we were like, man, with the football games down here at Auburn, wouldn't it be great to have a food truck? Like, that would be so cool. And when we were on vacation in California, it was 2017. That's really when the idea came to fruition. We were on a family trip. We were just in San Diego, and we kind of just kicked this idea. We were like, man, if we could make a food truck in the South, that would just like crush, because they don't, like, our friends don't even know. Like, we actually ended up making these pretzels for our Southern friends, and they were like, oh my gosh. I'd be texting mom like, hey, can you send us? She'd be mailing, mixes down to us to make.
Wow.
But after that trip in 2017, it started kind of as like, we were just laughing about it.
We were playing games and one night. Yeah.
And we were just like, well, it's really just a couple ingredients. It's not really that hard. Let's try to make our own recipe. Let's just see if we can do it. So we just dabbled with that recipe for years and years, but everyone was good, but it just kept getting better. And, we flash forward, life took us to Delaware, and mom and dad, life took them to Delaware. So we were living in the same place at the same time.
Well, we actually, were planning on this. We came up with the recipe while we were still in PA. They moved to Delaware thinking at one point, when they decided to have children and maybe we could move there and then we could start something. And it was going to start small because we both had, we didn't have like a huge amount of money to invest. We have a little bit, but we could do a food truck. And that's, sorry, I didn't.
No, that's perfect.
I love to tell me more about the origin story of this recipe too, because I don't want to it's very kind of you to be like, yeah, pretzels. Who doesn't like pretzels? But at the same time, like your specific pretzels, there are the store bought or the concession stand where it's like, I'm pretty sure this is made out of a tube of plastic at some point. Like this is tastes like cardboard. And then what you have going there is like some of the softest, but still it feels versatile. Like it feels like it could go with like any kind of a dipping sauce or anything. Like there's just a lot. Sorry, this isn't an advertisement for you, but actually, in a way, it is. But talk to me more about the origin story of this recipe as well. So, Wendy, was this something like you had a recipe that was going kind of through the family, or is this something that you came across and you're like, I think I can reproduce this in some way?
It's not a family recipe at all, but we used to buy a Pennsylvania Dutch mix. So I checked out the ingredients on that, did a little research online, tasted a bunch of different Amish pretzels in our area, and came up with our own recipe. Honestly, we started. Emmitt and Erica went back to Alabama after our vacation in San Diego, 2017, and we started like, okay, we're going to try this recipe. We're going to try it with this. We're going to add a little bit more of this, and so we really just played around with it for a couple of years, and then honestly, till we got the exact recipe, we were here. We were here. We were almost, did we buy the truck? We didn't even have...
It might have been, 2021, 22.
Yeah.
Like, we had dabbled with this recipe
for a couple of years. And then we're like, okay, once or twice. And I said, well, I added something to what you guys were doing, and it was really good, but I added a little bit. And they're like, Mom, this is the recipe. So that's how we did it.
Was there... It's so funny because there's a geological convergence where it's like, okay, we all ended up in the same state together, but there's also like this recipe convergence where is there a moment where everybody was just nodding their head saying, this is it. We know this is the recipe for sure.
I think it was in your house here.
Yeah.
And I think we had two recipes that were both very good.
Yeah.
But it was like me and Erica had one that we just were like, this is it.
Especially the chewiness and things like that.
They had one, and they were like so similar that you really had to like focus on it. But yours was the clear winner. We did a blind taste test, and it was like everybody picked the one that Mom had been working on, and so that's what we moved forward with.
So I love the origin story. Talk to me a little bit. Let's push that to the side and talk to me about the business side of this as you guys have kind of generated this. I know there's a food truck. Is the long-term vision for this, hey, this is going to be the best kept secret, the best food truck, in the world? Is there a sense of like, we could put some systems and processes for scale here? Talk to me about what the desire is moving forward into the future.
Sure. Yeah. So we definitely want to scale it. We're not exactly sure what that looks like yet. For our lots of prayer for sure.
That's what led us here.
For sure. Down the road, we've been talking for a long time that living in Rehoboth area, we would love to have a standalone shop at the beach. First block towards the boardwalk, that area. That would just be awesome. Like we would love to be a mainstay in Rehoboth. Like people come to Rehoboth and get Thrashers. They come and get Grottos, and they come and get Pretzelvania, that would be really one of our big dreams for it. Yeah. That's kind of where we're headed. That's where we hope to head at some point. And we're just kind of chipping away and trying to stay one foot in front of the other. But I think what's really unique about us too, we're a true family business. And I think each one of us has such a unique skill set that we bring to the table to help operate this business. I am very much like, I could probably answer this question in 20 different ways because I've thought about so many visions for what we could be in 10 years. Whereas like we have others that are more like day to day, help keep me grounded. So we push and pull, and it really keeps us to where we need to be. And I've seen that work out all the way through.
Yeah.
There isn't such a rush to make this more than what it is and more than what it needs to be too soon. Like I really get the sense in that you guys have taken the marathon and not the sprint approach, and we're really going to cultivate the seed and just see what grows out of this, out of this plant, which is really cool to see. That's a disciplined approach, but I think it makes for a better end result. So congratulations on that. Also, just for level setting, we do have people from outside of the Delaware area listening. Anytime you hear thrashers or what was the other one from Rehoboth? Dolly, I guess Dolly's isn't here.
Dolly would be, I think grottos.
Grottos.
Yeah. These are mainstays of the, and it's so funny. I try to explain this culture that we have here, where it's like this half farm rural, and then once you cross this very real line, it's just complete beach culture, vacation culture. So to be a mainstay there, though, I really do see that as a possible vision. There's a lot of different places, like you said, you can take this, but I can absolutely see that as being one. What I'd love to hear too is moving at the pace that you're moving, and also just kind of figuring a lot of this out. Is this all of yours kind of first time in business together as you're figuring this thing out, or is there other experience that you kind of parlayed into this venture?
As far as all four of us together, absolutely, that would be something brand new for us. My husband's family owned their own business, so they had a sheet metal shop and a roofing business, so they were entrepreneurs for sure. Life happens to everyone. So things happened with the business. That would have been something that was carried on traditionally through my husband and his brother. But some, like I said, life experiences, life happens, and the business was sold instead. I actually, so that I could stay home and raise my kids and not have to get them in daycare, I had my own cleaning business. So yes, I was an entrepreneur for about 11 and a half years. So we do have a little bit of experience, but not in the food industry per se. I mean, we did, I worked some summer jobs. Emmitt and Casey, his younger brother, worked some summer jobs in food, and so did Erica. My husband actually worked for a place here in Rehoboth in his teenage years. So,
wow. Okay.
Like full circle back here. It's like one of his favorite places to be. So we have a little bit of experience, but we had to really do our research and work things out. There was kinks we had to work out from the get-go. So it's been quite an adventure, but I'm very grateful and thankful. We've prayed a lot about it along the way. We've had each other to support each other, because family businesses, you all have your own opinions and ideas. So, yeah. But we surrounding everything is love. So we do everything for each other and with each other in love. You might not agree, but it's not anything, personal against anybody else. We really can work through things. So we're very grateful to have each other to go through this journey.
It's such a good lesson to extract from all of this. Hopefully, if entrepreneurs or people that are thinking about starting their business are listening to your story so far, and they hear, I hear an air of healthiness around it. Like there's just an addiction in our culture for drama and for things that just go south, and that's where it's just, there's so much that can be a great example for seeing a culture that's built in service and love for each other. I think that sometimes it's almost like a cancer. In the absence of something that is showing up that's negative, then a good system emerges. I would love for you to, you talked about the adventure of the business. Is there anything that you've experienced along your journey so far over the last couple of years? Because it is fairly fresh. It is a fairly new business. And as you're mentioning, we're figuring some of this stuff out ourselves. We have past experience. We're parlaying in that you would consider to be, I don't want to call it a mistake. I don't think it's failure, but it's like, hey, here is a lesson we learned along the way. We thought we should go this way. It turns out it either didn't work out for us and we're just going to head this way instead, but something that might be instructional for somebody that, they're thinking about moving forward. And hey, if you're going to take this journey, you might want to just go ahead and skip that part of
it. Sure. I think we could probably each speak to that in different ways. And I can't take credit for this term, but I listened to a podcast and I'm reading a book by Jocko Willink, who's a Navy SEAL and just a leadership speaker. And he calls it tuition payments, and I love it because that's exactly what it is. When you make a mistake along the way that maybe costs you some money, it's a tuition payment because now you know. So I would say that our first one, like when we first started talking about this, we incorporated the business in 2020, thinking that we were going to be starting a lot sooner, and we were only started it in February 2023. So we really
Wow.
thought, yeah, we were thinking about the business. Well, I think I'd add, I'm so eager. I'm such an eager person.
Very exciting.
Yeah, for sure. But at first we wanted it to be a food trailer because we just didn't think a truck was going to be feasible financially for us. We thought that trucks are just so expensive. And when we looked into, outfitting a truck and building it and all these things, like, some of the quotes that we were looking at were like, almost $100,000. And we were like, well, that's just not going to work for us right now. And so let's do a trailer. But then just amazing how things work out. And my dad, one of his strengths in all this is he is like the handiest person I've ever met. And, he has so much experience in construction and building, and he was a carpenter. So he can maintenance, he can do so many things. So he found a food truck online on Facebook Marketplace. And it wasn't really a food truck. It was a catering. It was just a box truck. Basically, it was a bare bones, and we got it outfitted. So long story short, I think being flexible and adaptable is a big lesson, because I think in the beginning I kind of got bullheaded with like, hey, we need to just have this trailer. Let's not try to buy off more than we can chew. Let's get a trailer. We know we can afford it. And then when Dad was like, well, here's this box truck with I think we could do it. And I think that swallowing your pride sometimes and letting somebody else who is ready to lead and is ready to, it knows more than you, like take the reins of it.
Well, let him hear you say that.
Yeah, he can't listen to that part. No, just kidding.
This just stays here. That's right.
No, but I mean, that's a big lesson, especially if you're working with family. It's just, I know that Mom already kind of touched on that, but like really, really acknowledging what your strengths are and what somebody else's strengths are, and letting them take the reins early, because that was, looking back, it was such a big shift in where we thought we were going, and it ended up being the best thing ever, because I can't imagine. I see people that have trailers now versus our truck, and it's just so much more inconvenient. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that we have a truck.
Car, you would have had to explore, hook everything up. So it's, lots of wear and tear on it as a car.
That was like a macro one that I can think of. Like more of a micro one was like, we thought for sure we're going to sell pretzel nuggets. That was something that, and our first night we had 4 different products that we were throwing out, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're brand new to this game, and pretzel nuggets was something we thought it was going to fly off the shelves. And then after that first night, we have never sold pretzel nuggets, because we only sold like 2, and it took so much time on the truck. And then we were behind on other things, and we were like, oh man, nobody's even buying these pretzel nuggets. Like, it's the exact same thing. We just cut them up small. So we just like totally nixed that, and we haven't done it since. So that's another like little thing where that was like something that you learn.
I think flexibility, like you say, it's right. Like you have to just pivot sometimes when something's not working. You have to all be okay to let somebody say, this isn't working, and not, knock heads or whatever, just, be flexible, be able to pivot and try something new that's not working.
I'll knock on wood as I say this. We haven't had a massive setback yet, knock on wood. Like we've had things like our oven went out before an event one day. That was a big bummer. Yeah. And that was something that we literally couldn't fulfill our duty that day. And that was really a tough moment, but we got it fixed, and it is what it is. Like, that's just something that kind of happens, goes with the territory a little bit. But other than that was like our biggest financial blunder, I think, was the oven. But otherwise, I think we've just been kind of riding the wave, and it's been pretty good to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys, I love the example of the pretzel nuggets too, because how counterintuitive that is. Because when I first hear pretzel nuggets, I'm like, oh man, that is consumable. It's I think probably what you thought when you first thought of it. And to find out that's not the biggest seller, and that people do want to go more the traditional route, it's really interesting to me. Wow. Would you talk to me a little bit more about who you would consider, and it can be a business or it can be as broad as life, but when you think about doing this venture, I'm sure you have in your mind like pictures of what success would look like, or who that successful person is that already kind of does stuff like that. Do you have anybody in mind that you would say, hey, these are kind of our heroes? You mentioned Jocko Willink, which is a fantastic way to shoot for too, especially for in the area of discipline. But What really inspires you to move forward in this business?
We've seen people do things very successfully, personally in our own lives. The family business that my husband's grandfather started, it was a very small town community business. People in the community supported them. They supported the community in so many ways. They were volunteers in so many areas. And the only reason, the business dissolved was, all the, Walmart, Lowe's, all of those big box stores started happening, and a small little hardware store in a tiny little town of Anvil, it just couldn't sustain itself really. So they set a good example as far as hard work and giving back and community. But locally here, we love the Dogfish Story. We love Sam and Mariah, and we read about them, and they're very charitable, and they really take care of people in their community, and that's something that we want to model too. Emmitt, I don't know if you have others that you consider your heroes or role models.
Yeah, role models might be more of it. And I think like from a business sense, I've actually been thinking about this. Being from Hershey, Pennsylvania, I think Milton Hershey, we just grew up around his story. I think we take it for granted, but how much he did for that town, like he just left such an imprint really on the world too. Like when I was in college, I did an internship at Milton Hershey High School with the school counseling department. I work as an academic counselor now in higher education. So, I was doing that, but learning about that school, it's for underprivileged children. It's a K through 12. It's starting as for orphan children. But all of their expenses are paid, and if they maintain good grades through school, I wish I had like the exact numbers, but basically when they graduate, they get, when I was there, it was like $80,000 or something like that towards their college or whatever they were pursuing after school. And that's all built off the Milton Hershey Trust, like everything that he built with the company. So that's like a really huge, I'm not saying like, hey, never say never, but I'm not saying that we're going to be the next Hershey or anything like that. But like, that's a really cool person, and that's a really cool mission. And that's another thing that's just motivated us through this is giving back to our community. We just want to be a part of the community, and people in the community knowing like, hey, if something comes up, like Pretzelvania is going to be there to help in some way. Like, I think anybody who's giving back is who we've kind of been looking up to and seeing how they do that.
That's really inspiring. Wow. I love hearing that too about Hershey. That's awesome. We mentioned you all have converged into Delaware geographically. Now, is this the entire team, or is there still more to come for all of you?
Yeah, so at this point, the four of us have taken the lead, and we've had a lot of folks help us along the way, even in the truck a little bit when we need some assistance. But my brother Casey is, his plan, he's getting married in April, and him and his fiance they would love to move to Delaware, and Casey is really looking to be a part of it. And he would hope full time someday, just like all of us, And I think what Casey brings to the table is he's kind of like the mayor of every town he goes to. People really like Casey a lot. And I mean, he's just a good person. He's kind of a glue guy, and he's a friendly face, and kind of do whatever he needs to do. So I think that I could see him really, depending on which way we pivot, just being a leader in the company. I don't know what that looks like right now, but in some way, shape, or form, being a leader in the company. And, he works well with us too. We're fortunate to be a tight-knit family too. I don't think you could do this if you were a tight-knit family.
More of a fun question, but talk to me more about, if folks aren't familiar with Pretzelvania, what the style of pretzels you do are, what the different options are. Just talk to us a little bit more about what you.
Well, we keep the recipe we keep the items very simple, especially being on a food truck. If you've ever, been on a food truck, it's keeping it simple is best. So we just have two varieties of pretzels, and then we have a regular salted pretzel, and we have a brown sugar cinnamon pretzel. So ours is different. A lot of places sell cinnamon sugar, but ours is brown sugar cinnamon. So It is a little bit different, so that kind of sets us apart a little bit. We have hot dog pretzels too. We call them pretzel dogs. So it's just the pretzel dough wrapped around a hot dog. And then we offer them some dips. So we have a homemade cream cheese icing dip, and it goes well with both pretzels, the salted or the brown sugar cinnamon. And we also have a homemade sharp American cheddar cheese dip. And a craft mustard that we get from Sierra Nevada. That's a very good pale ale mustard. And then we just have some ketchup and mustard that we give away free, for folks that want that. So that is it. That's it.
Yeah. And the style of pretzel, we call it a Pennsylvania Dutch pretzel, which really, especially to people from central Pennsylvania, I will admit that can mean it's a couple different things because there are different styles even within central Pennsylvania. Very distinct from a Philly pretzel. It's not going to be anything like a Philly pretzel. The Amish community has, their kind of pretzels. It's more like that. But, depending on the market you go to, depending on the people, they are a little bit different. Yeah. But I would say dense and yummy.
It's a meal. It's a meal. That's what we say.
Yeah, we tease Mom. That's what she says. That's her catchphrase to customers. It's a meal.
Do you ever have people come up to you and suggest new flavors? Like, hey, you need to do, I think the example I had in the notes was an Old Bay pretzel. Or I'm sure you get suggestions all the time about, hey, you need to do this.
They're good suggestions. When people give us suggestions and don't see it happen, it's not because we think they're bad ideas. It's just we're really simple. And we have a lot of ideas too, and we have experimented in our own kitchen with a lot of different things that are really good. And we've done a couple special product drops that we've just advertised on social media. We did cinnamon bun pretzels. So we just made a cinnamon roll, but it was with our brown sugar cinnamon mix, but just dense and amazing. We sold them in 4-packs, and it was just for a limited number, and whoever ordered them first got them. So we did that once, and then we also did a bacon jalapeno cheddar pretzel where it was infused with those 3 ingredients as a special product one night at one of the places that we were at, and people liked it. But again, it really made us step a little bit on the truck. So we were like, I don't know that it made us do any better that night. So for the time being, it was cool to test out. We know it was good. So maybe someday with a standalone, we can dabble in those things more.
Well, talk to me about, I know this drops probably late November, early December, but talk to me about where you guys are going to be, especially for folks that are in the area. Where can they find you online? And then where can they find you out in the wild? If you have any of those dates set up, I'd love for folks to be able to take the next step and find and actually enjoy some of what you were talking about.
Yeah, so we're going to be at Shellville in Rehoboth, behind the Tanger Outlets, the Shellville Village. We're really pumped and grateful to be asked to be there. So we're going to be there beginning November 18th through New Year's Eve, and it's not every day through there. It's mainly weekends from the 18th to mid-December. I think December 15th is when it kicks off that we are there, or the 14th.
Mm-hmm. Every day.
December 14th to New Year's Eve, we're going to be there every day from 5 to 9. So people can definitely come to Shellville. So shout out to Shellville because it's a great place to go. It's fun for kids and families. So
it's free too to get in. The entry is free. Yeah,
absolutely.
They've been good to us too.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll be there until the new year. Then after that, we are booking into 2024. So locally, we really try to stick to Sussex County. I think we ventured out of the county once or twice. Yeah. Not too much, but we go to local branch brewery in Delaware. We made good friends with them. They're fantastic little community business as well. We go there quite often. We're at Hudson Fields for different events through the spring and summer. And really anywhere that will have us. So we collaborate with a lot of different people. We're open to networking and, hooking up with new folks and places to set up. But you can find us online at pretzelvaniade.com. We have social media too. So Facebook and Instagram, you can look us up at Pretzelvania Food Truck. It's Pretzelvania Food Truck. You'll find us that way. Mm-hmm. And we keep our social media with up to date with everything going on, and our website's always up to date as well. We sell merchandise too off our website, so that's fun too. So you can support us in that way. And we are going to be launching a new product Starting in Shelbyville, yeah. So we haven't really announced this yet, but we are going to be selling, just like how we started making pretzels, dry ingredient mix so that people can make it at home. So we actually just got our materials this week. So we're going to be prepping those, and starting November 18th at Shelbyville, I believe that's when we're going to launch it. We will be selling it off the truck and off of our website as well. So we're going to just pilot it, see how it goes. And, if people are interested and we get good feedback, then we'll keep it going, because it's fun, and it's a fun little family event. It's a nice Friday night in, making pretzels with your family and have a yummy product at the end.
Yeah.
Man. So I love that. Everybody online that's not from Delaware or Sussex County, if you could just go ahead and overwhelm them with orders, that would be a good problem to have.
And that would be great.
And it's probably going to be the best pretzel you've had. And if not, then I'd love to hear who you think is better, because we'll have an argument about that. You guys, this is so great. I love hearing origin stories, and I love just how authentic you both come across as you're sharing it. So thank you both for just kind of sharing a little bit of the slice of your life with us, with the community, and excited to see what happens in the future for you both.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, it's fun to be on.
Yeah.
And our thanks to all of you for listening. If you're looking for a quick way to make our day, a review in iTunes or subscribing to this podcast would mean the world to us. Our thanks to Small Pond Productions for sponsoring. And this was the ProGuide. Learn from leaders, change your life. See you, everybody.